Hello, hello. Good day, everybody. So glad that you're here. We have a special guest. Heather's not going to join us today, but Bruce is here. It was so good. I answered your phone call. I'm happy that I did because it ended up having this wonderful conversation. I'm looking so forward to it. Bruce and I met a while back. I don't know exactly how long, maybe a year or so, and we just hit it off and we have great conversations and like-minded, but I always love listening to Bruce's stories and his knowledge and what he knows. And I know you guys will enjoy it as well, whoever is listening to this video. So Bruce, I'm just gonna give the reins to you, and I'm wondering what it is you want to talk about when it comes to all things energy. I know you always have really neat perceptions of things. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, it's really cool to be here. It's my first time. I'm a virgin, you could say. So you've got that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
We're all a virgin when it comes to this stuff. I'm a virgin kind of when it comes to Discord as well, but we're working through it. It's getting better and better all the time. Things are working the way they're supposed to be for the most part now. So I'm excited about that. It was interesting when you called me this morning. I wasn't going to take your call because I was like, oh, I got to get ready. I got to, brush my teeth and get my out of my house coat. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that. So we had a great half an hour phone call talking about energy and perceptions and what's going on in the world, and everybody having, their own struggles and lots of divide going on. And I was kind of hoping we could talk a little bit about that and how do we
sure.
come to resolutions with this, and how do we figure this out along the way, step by step. I know you have great ideas. I listen to them
I
intently.
I think acknowledging is the first step. Acknowledging the existence, like we were talking about earlier, how regardless of your belief in something, uh, that negates its reality. Uh, the lights turn on whether or not you believe in electricity or understand how it works. The radio station plays even if you're not tuned in. Uh, it exists all around us all the time. Um, just not everybody's able to tune in to certain frequencies and to experience what's happening.
Yet,
That's what I've.
yet. We
Go
haven't
ahead.
been able to completely tune in to the radio station that we should be listening to yet.
No, and there's the people that sit in places of power, the media, the great deceivers. They understand how all of this works. Maybe not individually, but on a greater sense as a whole. How the energy suck, um, the fear, the anxiety, different chemicals and reactions that happen in the brain, the the addictions that people have to certain feelings. Just like I don't know if anybody's seen The Social Dilemma, the little
Yes.
dopamine hit that you get when somebody likes your post or you get a new follower or a good comment, that becomes addictive. And the same thing happens in the media. The fear and anxiety that they push causes a cortisol dump in your brain that causes that fear and that anxiety. The reaction, uh, even though it's unpleasant, people still get addicted to it. Um, like alcohol, you get you enjoy it. You like the feeling. It leaves you with a hangover sometimes, but people will still do it over and over and over again. The morning after, they'll say, "Oh, geez, I'm never doing that again." But sure enough, by Friday afternoon, Friday evening, there's a new reason.
Or they're actually fixing the cure with a Bloody Caesar at 11 o'clock in the morning with breakfast.
Okay. Oh, what have you got there? I thought you were getting a hot chocolate.
I do have a hot chocolate, but I love Caesars, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people will do that if they have a hangover. They'll drink a Caesar in the morning to kind of alleviate it, and somehow it does in some way.
It's,
It's very weird.
So are you saying that's like flipping the news back on and getting your dump of what's happening worse today that was going to distract you from yesterday?
Oh, absolutely. You have to shut it down. You have to stop it. And you have to know when it's happening, or when that pepton neuron in the brain lights up and you think, "Oh, I'm about to do something that probably isn't in my best interest." You need to be able to understand that that's not always that could be coming from some outside influence source around you. And if you can recognize that, then I think that's where you hold your power and your sovereignty in a lot of ways. So that's just my point. It's very conspiratorial.
It is and it isn't. Conspiracy is just a plan. That word's been weaponized.
For sure it has.
For decades.
It was created for weaponization.
When a builder conspires to build a house and then does, that's accurate use of the language.
Mm-hmm.
Etymology's been fascinating for me lately. Learning what words actually mean, words that we use every day and maybe misuse. Actually, the one of the words is ignorant. I corrected my daughter's friend the other day because she thought it meant rude. And something just happened here. A bunch of windows popped up.
Yep, that's okay. We just have a guest. Valerie's coming on.
Okay. So the word ignorant, defined as lacking knowledge, and will get misused as a word that means rude, which I suppose is somewhat a lack of knowledge, but the definitions of these words are changing. It was pointed out the other day that you can find the latter definition now in some online dictionaries.
And what is it?
Well, they've allowed it to mean rude as well.
Well, I think rude is being lack of knowledge or being
can be
rude to the situation.
I forget where I was trying to go with this. Different words that people are afraid of. They may just not be understanding correctly. Like apocalypse is one. What's your perception of apocalypse?
Destruction of something that creates the beginning of another thing. It's the ending of the old, beginning of the new. And there's a death to it every time there's an ending to something.
So if you take a look at the etymology, which is the origin of it, it has Greek and Latin origins, and it just literally means an uncovering.
Oh, but see, that will cause a death in a way, I think. Or even if it's a death of perception or a death of bias or something along those lines, once you know what you're dealing with, you can handle anything.
Maybe, but just the uncovering is a much more peaceful and calming way to understand that word compared to how you described it. Right? Yours was more of a trauma and fearful description.
And that's from the movies, right? The Apocalypse Now and all of those movies that we see, that's how it influences us.
From Hollywood. Did you know witches make their wands from the wood of the holly tree?
Yeah, I know. I know. There's something not good about those witches, I tell you. Even if they say they're a white witch.
Yeah, there's a lot of broadcasting of spells coming out of Hollywood.
And back to what you were saying about words. Words are spells. They
are very powerful. Mm-hmm. And I've recently, as we've talked about, gotten into scripture, and it's been fascinating for me. There's things that I feel like I've always known, but now I'm finding ancient scriptures that back these up. I always thought this book's so old. Why would I ever read it? It surely has no relevance, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We've been going through little bits of the Old Testament, New Testament, and there's lessons in there that ring true, timeless. And the difficult part is the way it's written and finding a translation that you can understand.
Isn't that why you talk it out?
Sorry?
Isn't that why you talk it out? Like you
Yeah,
understand the
absolutely.
scripture by having the discussion?
Having the discussion and having the resource to go through, like King James Version is it's written in a very old kind of language, the there's, these, thous, shalts, and it can be difficult to read, but I think it's true to the spirit, where some of the newer translations have gotten wordier, the Amplified Version, and sometimes by using more words than necessary, the meaning is lost. I was talking with my daughter about this last night, how if you were going to write instructions for somebody 1,000 years from now, how would you do that? It has to be in some allegorical fashion that is going to transcend time and technology. So the ties to natural events, solar events, lunar events, celestial events. The parable of the sower is a great one. Are you familiar?
You know what? I don't know if I am. What's it called?
So I'm not strong enough in this to quote it directly, and I haven't got a Bible in front of me. But the idea is,
What was the reference, though, Bruce?
It's in the book of Matthew. It's in the Gospels. It's also in Mark and John. They have their kind of different take on the stories. The premise is Jesus teaches through parable, and he talks about the sower. And as he's taking his seed, some of it falls on the roadside, and it is captured up by the birds. Some of it falls on rocky soil and sprouts up quickly. But as soon as the sun hits, it's scorched because it has no roots. Some of the seed falls in with the weeds, and the weeds grow up around it and choke it out. And some of the seed falls in fertile soil and bears fruit 100 times, 60 times, 30 times over. And
it's a natural law.
That's like it's a natural law, and it's just an understanding of self and truth. And when it gets right in deep, and you're rooted to something so true and so powerful, you can't help but be fruitful.
And multiply.
The seed that falls on the rocky soil, that's the when you don't have that root. So the first time you've got any adversary or something come against you, you wither and fall. Or the same with the weeds that choke you out. You're rooted, but surrounded by a negativity, by an energy that's not helping you grow.
Oh, it's really in depth when you're doing this. Do you find that when you're having these conversations and having your Bible study, can you feel the energy shifting in the room? Can you feel the energy when people resonate with the message? Does it change? Does the frequency change? Do you understand what I'm saying?
There is absolutely. So one thing I haven't told you about prior, but I think I'll share. In my line of work, I get to meet a lot of different people. And there was a client, I'd only done a small job for him, but because of just who I am, I'll talk to anybody and share information, kind of feel people out as we go. And he seemed receptive to some certain ideas. And he was an Afghan war vet. He's dealing with some post-traumatic stress. He's in therapy and on medication. He was listening to what I was saying. This was probably a month and a half ago. And I told him how it's always been a spiritual war that's going on, and everything else is a bit of a distraction. And out of nowhere, a week and a half ago, he reached out to me by email. He says, "Hey, I don't know who to talk to, but can we chat?" which was kind of neat. I'm like, all right, well, I give him a call, and he said he'd been meditating on what I'd said to him. He misunderstood it, but I think he still got the point. What he heard me say is that the next war will be a spiritual war, where I said it's always been that way. But a lot of things started clicking for him, and he says, I think I've cured my PTSD.
Wow.
But he felt so alone in where he was, because he didn't know who he could talk to in his family. His therapist definitely wasn't going to understand where he was at, because she hasn't been through what he's been through. She's studied, but didn't have the life experience, nor the insight that he was needing. And because of these studies that we've been doing, I immediately knew where to take him. Like, for anybody that's interested, Matthew chapter 7, it's a short and easy read, and there's so many things that you already know there. And when you have the eyes to understand, that's the place that talks about the narrow and the wide gates. Are you familiar with that?
I don't read the Bible, but I read passages when I see them, but I don't actually delve right into it. But I am going to look at this.
With the idea that, wide is the gate, and many shall pass. And the wide gate, it's the easy road, and the majority of people are going to take that way, but it leads to destruction. The narrow gate, the narrow path, it's the path less traveled, but it leads to salvation. So it kind of helped him deal with where he was at, and let him know he's not alone in that. And then he was telling me that he felt like he's shed some sort of demon. I said that's a very real thing.
It is a very real thing. This is something people don't have a real concept of, and they're creepy, and they're behind the scenes, and they hide in the dark, but they are affecting you, and I can see certain people who will walk around with demons on them, and they're covert, and it's very interesting when you see it, when you're especially meeting new people, and when you're out there, but they do exist. It's a very real thing.
You can hear it in people. When you talk to them. If it's somebody you know, especially, you go, wow, this is not you. Who's saying this? And my perception of it is, the closer you get to that peace, that salvation, the louder the demons become, and the stronger you need to be to stand up and say no.
And how do we do that, Bruce?
It's that whisper, that voice in your head that says, no, you're not good enough. You can't do that. The doubt, whatever you wrestle with, whether it's, confidence issues in appearance, in finance, all of it. You can overcome it, but you need that strength, and it comes from within you. It comes from the I am.
I like that fish story that you shared with me earlier, the one with the coins and you go fishing. I really enjoyed that a lot.
That was something that came up last Sunday, as some in the group were talking about taxation. So it's actually Matthew chapter 17, somewhere around verse 15 to 24, I think. And so Peter, who Jesus met by the Sea of Galilee with his brother Andrew, they were in their boat. They were casting their nets. They were fishermen. And Jesus said, follow me. I will make you fisher of men. So my coming to this has been very organic. I've been exposed to it my whole life because of my grandmother. But, I was never really raised in a church. My parents didn't go to church. I've kind of come around to it as I've discovered the truths that I thought I knew were actually lies. And the closer and closer I get to truth, the the more this the scripture and everything makes sense. Anyways, Peter and Jesus are in the temple, and there's tax collectors, and they're asking for temple tax. And Jesus says to Peter, he says, go to the sea, cast out your line or your hook, and the first fish you pull in, there will be money in his mouth for your taxes and for mine. And in the group, everybody that's there, they've brought us in. They've started this on their own because their own churches have crumbled to mandates, and you're not welcome unless you wear a mask, and there's no hugging, and they felt that really defeated the whole idea of the church, so they've done their own thing. But they've got their preconceived ideas of what this means, and they took it in a very literal sense. That no, there's literally a fish with coins in its mouth. And when I heard it, I thought this is metaphorical. It's allegorical. The knowing that Peter is now a fisher of men, he's no longer a fisherman. Why would Jesus send him to catch a fish? He sent him to catch a man. He went to the sea where commerce would take place. There'd be merchants and other fishermen, people selling their wares. So you go cast your line, your pitch, your pickup line, and the first fish and when you open his mouth. So I think that's when you apply your craft righteously, that will provide for your needs. Is the message that was there.
What a great message. And it's very true.
And it's one of these things, and it kind of relates back to that. How do you write this stuff so that it transcends time? I know plenty of fishermen today. I don't know anyone that's ever found coins in a fish's belly.
They found rings. I've heard of that before. I've heard of those stories.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they're magical myth stories.
So, it might be a literal account,
sure.
But that's where it works on so many levels, and for every generation.
Well, on a more layman's thing, everybody's so stressing to get to the end of the month. We got to pay the bills. We got to get to the end of the month. We got to get to the end of the month. But you know what? If you look back at your history, you've always made it to the end of the month. So why are you stressing about making it to the end of the month?
You've been trained.
You've been trained. And you've been trained to be fearful of it, when in actuality, you've been doing it. I've been doing it for 52 years. However old you are, you've been doing it all along. So what the hell are you fearing moving forward?
Absolutely.
That's the way I break it down. Make it simpler, or and just have faith that it's going to show up like it did last month.
Yeah, it always seems to work out.
Mm-hmm. Even at the 11th hour, but it always seems to work out.
Yeah, or sometimes you lose things. But that's for a good reason. You might not understand. It might take years, and then you can look back and you go, oh, that's why that happened. It kind of directs your path.
You don't understand sometimes. I know I've been caught behind a train sitting there, and the train's going back and forth. So it's unloading cars, and I'm getting annoyed by the minute. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm watching the squirrel over there looking at me, freaking out because I'm stuck behind this train. And the weirdest thing is the train finally moves. All of a sudden, I'm driving down the road, about 15 minutes up the road, which is kind of how long I was sitting there. 15 minutes up the road, there was a big accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there talking to the squirrel, and the squirrel is looking at me like I'm losing my mind. And all of a sudden I get up there. Never, ever again have I worried about being behind a train for any length of time. So
yeah. Sorry, I had a thought there, and it just it escaped.
Oh, bring it back.
Yeah, there it is. Found it. I stopped getting mad about things that would normally be upsetting, and I'll kind of detach from them now and go, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that happened.
And you usually do see the synchronicity of it later.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you can catch yourself sooner before you react with emotion, which is really hard for some people, depending on their state, where they're at, and the stresses in their life. But if you can find the presence to just take a breath, step back, and go, wow, that sucks, but I wonder why that happened, and evaluate it.
The brain has 17 seconds to create a momentum of thought and emotion. So if it's not a positive thought or it's not leading you to positive things, you have 17 seconds to shut it down before it becomes a momentum.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I love our conversations because there's always an exchange. It's give and take both ways.
I've always loved talking to you. It's fascinating. You give me so many things in those videos that you send me. And I like your letters too, by the way, just to let you know. Good work.
What letters?
You sent me a few letters. We don't need to go into it, but you sent me a few letters. And I like the way your brain works.
Oh, the text, yeah. I haven't put pen to paper for quite a while other than to sign a check here and there.
I think it's a good idea. I think you were right. If people want to write into the show or write letters or show you or tell you things that they're experiencing, I think, having a post office box and getting letters from, your following and your people, I think that's a great idea to go back to that.
It is. It's very personal for sure. And you definitely know you're not dealing with a bot at that point. Artificial intelligence has come to quite the point where online you could end up arguing with a machine for hours, and it's all designed to suck your energy and pull your emotion.
Well, I have no intentions on fighting with a bot. I have no intentions on fighting with anybody. If anybody's coming to this channel or watching our show, it's really not about fighting. It's about finding a better spiritual way.
That's good. So yeah, today was the first I even knew that you were doing this.
Well, that's what I mean. I was supposed to take your call this morning and have this conversation with you, obviously. And it was so funny because Heather was supposed to be here, but she wasn't. So obviously you were supposed to do this with me today.
It's an interesting synchronicity.
It really is. And I just love all of the things that you share with me. I love talking to you. It's great.
I was going to share a little bit more about the energy you're asking about. I was building the backstory there with the Afghan War Vet.
Yes, sorry. Go ahead. Finish that.
No, yeah, it wouldn't make sense if I didn't. So then I shared some information with him. He told me he's shedding the demon. That's where we got off a little bit. And interestingly enough, just the week prior, we had been talking about the armor of God. And that's in Ephesians. I don't know what chapter, but it talks about putting on the helmet of salvation and the shield of faith, the breastplate of righteousness, all these things, and that is to set you in your understanding, your belief, your I am, because if you don't, another demon is going to climb right back in, and I didn't know if he was understanding all of it, if it was too much. So we cut our conversation, and the following day, I got a text while I was sitting in the office with a coworker, and it was one of the coolest compliments I've ever got. He said, "Hey, thanks. Thanks for the chat and the armor upgrade." And I felt this touch of energy, and I know you know what I'm talking about. It was actually you that explained it to me the first time. I always had the tinglies, like that sensation, and you told me, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You told me pay attention to that and when you get it, and I have done that ever since. I think that was 2 years ago.
Feels great, doesn't it?
It was like that, but amplified, and there was like an encompassing warmth, and
it's indescribable. You can't describe it to people to the way that you feel in it. There's no words for it.
I wasn't even going to try to explain it to my coworker, but he was familiar with the situation, and I showed him the message, and immediately he had that same reaction, even though he's like removed from the whole circumstance of the conversation that had happened. He felt the presence in the room, and I said to him, "Tell me that's not real."
Exactly.
It was pretty profound.
You know, I love when I feel that tingle, and I love when it's happening. It happens spontaneously, where all of a sudden you feel it in your toes. It starts working up your body. All of a sudden, every cell is activated. But you can also turn it on by asking certain questions and invoking God and talking to God, and it just seems to change the whole energy of your atmosphere as well. So you can get rid of these demons. I believe I have an armor on me.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're responsible for maintaining that.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that through meditation, and there's instruction for us. It's been left, but it's up to you to ask the questions of yourself, and knock, and the doors will be opened. Seek, and ye shall find.
And trust the intuition that you're getting. Trust the feeling to go left instead of right.
Yeah.
It's tricky, but it's not keep it simple, and it's tricky to trust it all the time because it's really sometimes going into the unknown. But when you have that feeling, you do it, you go for it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You got any other thoughts today?
You know what? We've done our half an hour. I have an appointment. Actually, I have a full day of appointments, and we usually go a half an hour. Bruce, I would love to do this again really soon. And whenever you can do it, whenever you're available. I try to be here every morning at 10 o'clock and to share. Sorry we didn't do any questions today. Today was all about talking, but if anybody ever wanted to leave a comment or ask a question, do it in the chat room. And if there's any topics that you'd like to talk about or things that you'd like to hear more about, make sure you let us know. And yeah, I think we should do this again. What about you? Do you have any final thoughts?
I'd definitely be interested. I've got lots. I've had so many conversations with a lot of good people, and I keep thinking I wish there was a way I could share these conversations with more people. It's important stuff to hear, and can be uplifting, and letting people know that they're not alone in their situation. There's been a lot of isolation over the last 2 years, and it's all by design.
It is, and it doesn't have to be. We can create a community, and this is what I kept being called to do something. I didn't know really what it was. I didn't really understand what it was, but I knew I was being called to do something. And I have to do it how it forms with my life as well, and try and do readings in between and so on and so forth. So I thought this was good. I remembered waking up one morning and thinking, oh yeah, Discord, we could have a chat room on Discord. So you get on there, and then before you know it, you're, downloading this platform and this platform and that platform, and then you have to learn every single one of them. So, but I think once you get it all kind of set up, this is a really good, safe place to come. And I don't know, I'm very, very excited about what we're going to talk about. So why don't we leave it at this, and I'll talk to you after, and we'll see when you're next available. And yeah, we'll take it from there. What do you think?
Sounds great.
Sounds great. So Bruce, have a good one.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. It was very informative. I've learned a lot from our gentleman speaker today. So thank you.
Good. His name is Bruce. Val, this is my friend. This is my friend Val, and she likes to come and join on the show. So thanks for participating again. Sorry, I didn't send you the link yesterday, Val, because I didn't have internet all day. So
that's okay.
I'll send it today.
Hi, Bruce. Nice to speak with you.
Well, likewise. Did you have any quick questions or?
No, not at this time.
No. Okay. Awesome.
I haven't actually.
Oh, good.
Okay, have a good day.
Yes, you as well. Thanks for coming. Bruce, thanks. It's been great. I will talk to you soon.
All right. Good night.
Bye.